Elden Ring Nightreign's leveling up system is simple in its design, but has a lot of complex workings going on in the back. Before we get into how I made it, we have to talk about it. I love this game so much, and this game encourages you to level up, and this is quite clear on the main gameplay loop. The gameplay here is fast-paced with the storm chasing in on the game to force the player into stronger parts of the game. So with such a fast-paced game, leveling up should be quick, streamlined, and without much thought. For this, the devs decided to go with whatever system this is. This system enhances the gameplay by making it fast, streamlined, and straight to the point. In the base game, the player would open up 3 different menus and manually select which attribute to level up. That takes time. Time the player here doesn't have. So the game gives you builds. It gives you characters that will level up certain things at their own rate to give their final HP, FP, stamina, and more. This is huge, especially if you have a very generic playstyle. You can play wilder. For me personally, I like having a dex build, so I would play someone like Executor or Iron Eye, and since I enjoy playing support more, I play more Iron Eye. This is all simply because of how the characters are scaled. The scaling in part is how each of these characters improve their stats. For example, Guardian has a higher scaling with Vigor than Iron Eye. This means that Guardian has a larger health pool than Iron Eye. So this is how the game balances out the fast-paced style with also players' specific style. So how does the game go about doing this? And furthermore, how do we go about doing this? Well, there's a couple things to actually keep in mind. Firstly, builds. Whenever you level up, the leveling up happens at their own different rates. So to make a build, it's really simple. We just make it into a data table, we just call the data table for whatever build we need to be in. That's a pretty simple thing. For us, we need to first figure out how to level up the player. So we'll need XP as a currency for that, or in the game, runes. Secondly, we'll need stats to upgrade, so we'll need to make those. And then there are also secondary stats like immunity, vitality, robustness, and of course, damage scalings. Well, to do this, we have to first break down each stat. There are 8 main stats as shown on screen. Each of the secondary stats seen here are affected by these 8 main stats. The game calls them attributes, so naturally, I picked that to be my variable name. After I had all 8 stats, I need specific information about it. I made an enum for all the main stats and then a struct to hold specific values. These values are the stat name, the current amount, and the maximum amount. This is pretty vital, especially considering how much the game wants to make sure the player can't really go above them since it maxes out the player level at 15. I then created a map variable to hold both types, thus sort of binding them together in a way. This was an easy way for me to keep both values in the same variable and manipulating them however I needed to, especially for updating them later on. So I have these main 8, but wait, I have an extra, and that's right. It's the player level, the actual level. You see, I can make the Vigor max out at 99, but player level has to max out at 15, since that's how many levels the player can get in Nightreign. In the base Elden Ring, it's 713, but this number is simply there because every stat is 99. For the secondary stats, I did the same thing. However, like I said before, I don't need to level up every single stat. I just have to level up the base 8. So we just have to set the scaling values and we'll be fine. So I made a function to scale them and sub-functions to scale each one. Now, I could probably make this more efficient with a for loop, but I was lazy. After setting the scaling, I know how to update each stat. So I then did that. I made a function to update the player stats. Now this function only takes one stat at a time, not all of them. So when I want to level up, I'd have to make an array like I obviously did. I then tried my best to recreate the UI from Elden Ring, Nightreign, and then I was able to display my stats. I also made a quick table in order to do this for my base stats, but my secondary stats, what about them? Well, let's check it out. See, in my UI, I made a binding, and with that binding, I'm able to take the current HP and the current FP and current stamina. This allows me to manipulate the values however I see fit, but the max value will always remain, and that's what's in the enum. This allows me to manipulate the values however I see fit, but the max value will always remain, like I said before. When printing out the values, it is vital that I use the max HP stat, not the current. The current is being set anyway, so displaying max HP is a good way for me to know and see if the values are being passed on properly. After displaying everything, I'm basically good to go. Now we just have to make a collision sphere for the Site of Grace. The Site of Grace is pretty simple. I made a really rudimentary interact system, and from there, I was able to interact with it. Upon interaction, I needed to open up the UI, so that's what I did. Afterwards, I needed a way to level up. A simple way was to make a keyboard event in the widget blueprint. Now, I'm not a programmer, so if there's a better way to do this, please let me know. Afterwards, I was then able to level up the player using functions. I made a quick interaction system, like I said before, and I made quick interacting points for a spirit spring to make some fun little level design, and also a way to get some extra XP without actually making it and putting onto inputs. I'm not using Elden Ring Nightreign's exact numbers, I do want to mention, but suffice to say, it's pretty simple here to do it. Afterwards, I just test it and see that it doesn't work, and to fix it for a week straight, and then it started to work, which was awesome. In the end, this is all done in an actor component, though it's casted to third-person character blueprint. I can technically make this better by casting to character and then getting the owner or player character. I can make it more modular. This is especially needed for multiplayer capabilities, but I'm not going that far, but there are several ways to make this better, and I do understand that. The basic point here being that there's a lot left to do. This system isn't just set at the leveling up system. The Site of Grace has a lot to it, especially since it basically gets rid of all the passive effects. But not always, since if you're still in Scarlet Rot zones, then Scarlet Rot still affects you. This is a huge part of Elden Nightreign, and I love it so much. It adds so much risk and so much care in how you approach your situations that you have to think of it on the fly. However, for right now, this is a quick rundown of how it's going to look like in-game with a really simple gameplay loop. Now, obviously, when you're in the game, you're running a lot faster than I am right now, but this is essentially how it would look. There's a small camp here to simulate the enemies that you'd be killing, since that is the only way to gain runes. And then from there, we go to the Site of Grace. You can see that we can level up or not. We level up, and then obviously, there's some kind of boss room to go to clear out the enemies, and obviously, in the end, vanquish the knight. So that is my Elden Ring Nightreign, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for listening.